My mother was born in a family that had 9 brothers. 9 brothers. 5 of them were medical doctors. 4 of them were engineers. And within 1 year, all the 9 brothers died. The 5 medical doctors died in a day. On the 31st of December, they met, they ate, they drank, and none of them woke up from eating. The doctors checked for food poisoning. The doctors checked for all kinds of foul methods or whatever happened, but they found nothing. So the 5 doctors died in a day and were buried in a day. Within the course of the year, the other 9 brothers died of accidents. Left with my mother and the twin sister. My mother is a twin. And my grandmother, that is my mother's mother, my grandmother had 6 sisters. Within that same year, all the 6 sisters died. The 6 sisters, none of them had a baby. None of them had a child. Within that same year, distant relatives like uncles and cousins, we had almost 56 people dying in one family that particular year. It left my mother in a state of deep poverty. So my mother entered into prostitution. And in the course of the prostitution, I was conceived. Those days, there was not that knowledge to protect yourself with the accessories that we have today. So she conceived. And pregnancy for a prostitute is a liability, it's not an asset. So my mother decided to abort this baby. And she tried 7 times and the baby would not come out. She tried unconventional means to get rid of the baby. It would not work. So on the 7th attempt, she went to a hospital in Takoradi, that is a harbor city in Ghana, to get rid of the baby, to do a DNC and get rid of the baby. And at the hospital, she met a doctor called Dr. Bernard, who was a German doctor practicing in Ghana, West Africa. The doctor looked at my mom and said, "Don't kill this baby. If you give birth to this baby, I will take care of the baby for the rest of his life." So my mother heeded that advice and did not kill the baby. At the 7th month, the baby was born, but the baby was not breathing. So the nurses picked up the baby, was about to release the baby into the bin, into the trash can. Dr. Bernard was not on duty that day, but strangely, he happened to show up at the exact time when the nurses were about to release the baby in the can. Opened the door and saw them releasing the baby and said, "What are you doing?" He said, "The baby is dead." And he said, "Give me the baby." He took the baby, put the baby in the incubator, sat down from morning to 1 minute past 12 midnight, looking in the incubator, sitting down quietly, drinking his coffee. And 1 minute past 12, the baby started breathing. And that baby is Bernard today. And my birthday, it's strange, my birthday is the 12th of January, 12/1. So 1 minute past 12, I started breathing, and my birthday is the 12th of January. So now I'm born to a prostitute mother, saw my mother still in prostitution. People would come in and do whatever they want to do, and when they are leaving, they will say all kinds of horrible things to her. And as a little boy, I quite remember, after they have said these things, I feel so horrible and bad. I remember days when they will hurt her in the process of doing whatever they're doing, and I would pick up a towel, put it in water, and clean her up through the night. Sorry. As a little boy, I had a lot of questions in my heart. One day my mother came home and said, I have found a job, got a job. I'm going to be a maidservant to one of the army officers in the country. So we went to the house. The man gave us his garage, and we used to sleep with the dogs in the garage. And the food that we're giving to the dogs were better than ours. So normally when they serve the dogs meals, we would eat the dogs meals. Those dogs later on died. Nobody knew who killed them, but I know, because we were eating their food. At night, this man would leave his wife upstairs and come downstairs in the garage and have sex with my mother. And he would beat her up after the event, not to tell anybody. And as a little boy, I would watch my mother, and he would not let me go out of the garage. He would let me stand and see what is happening. And as a little boy, was very tough for me. And he would beat my mother, and you would have blood all over the nose and the mouth, and through the night I have to be cleaning the blood. I had questions, but I couldn't ask them. One day he came home, he said, I cannot take care of two people. It's either you stay and your mother go, or your mother stay and you walk away. So as a little boy, I remember just walking around the house, and I left the house, strayed, and ended on the streets. I went to a place where you have this big buses, the government buses that carries people from one city to another, and I hid myself in one of the buses, down the bus where you park the luggage, where the luggages are parked down there. I hid myself there. I don't know how I survived. It's because it's very hot down there, but I hid myself there, went to sleep. I woke up with hearing voices and kicked my way out, and it was the capital city of Ghana, and it was a market area, a shopping center, a market area, and that is where I lived most of my life, picking up food from the ground, eating from the ground. I would go to the garbage dump, the trash can, and pick up food from there and eat. And normally on the streets, if you have money, the other strong guys will beat you and take the money. So normally on the streets, I will be begging for money, but when I get the money, I would quickly buy food, buy something with it. And I decided to do something, and that is, I will help people carry their groceries to their cars. So when they come and do groceries, I will quickly run to them and I say, please, will you help me carry your groceries? And I would just hold their groceries and take it to the car. One day I helped a lady to carry the groceries to the car. She looked at me and said, I had a dream and I saw a little boy like you, just your face. And she looked at me and said, follow me. And she took me to her home. She gave me her garage. That was my second garage. She gave me her garage. So I used to clean the house, do all the works, the laundry and everything, and she'll give me some food to eat. 17 months after I entered the house, this precious lady was going to work, was coming back home, had a car accident and died. My hopes were shattered. I ended up on the streets again. Saints, beloved, if God has an investment in you, the devil will not clap for you. If God has an investment in you that will bless people, if God has placed something in you that will be a blessing, Satan would not be your friend. He will throw anything he can at you. But God always wins. So I ended up on the streets again, picking up food from the ground and still helping people carry their groceries to their car. My brothers and sisters, always use what you have. Always use, no matter how insignificant it is, no matter how low people look at it. Whatever God has given you, use it. If he gave you hands, use it. If he gave you eyes, see. Whatever he gave you, use it. All I had was time. All I had was my hands, and I was helping people carry the groceries. One day I met a man. He looked at me. His name is Mr. Boateng. He looked at me. He said, you know what? Follow me. I want to take you home. I want to take you to my house. So I followed this man. He took me home, and he also gave me his garage. That was my third garage. And I used to sleep with a dog called Sharp. Sharp's meals were sumptuous. Very good meals. They will serve the meal of Sharp on a plate. And I will never forget, this man was a Christian leader in the church. They will cook, and I will help cook the food, do everything clean, and he will tell me, don't touch the food. And they will eat, and they will have enough left, but I'm not supposed to touch it. They will pour the leftover in a trash can, and I'm supposed to carry it to the garbage dump. So normally when I'm going to the garbage dump, I will stop and eat the food from the garbage dump. He never told me about Jesus. I never knew anything about God. Yet they prayed in the house every day. So as a little boy, I had conflicting perception of who God is or who Jesus is. I was confused. I would go the whole day, at times 3-4 days without food in the house. And I'll still be cleaning and doing every work I have to do. Now later on, Sharp died because I was eating the meal of Sharp. I was caught a couple of times. I was beaten, but I continued because that was the only means to survive. This man had 4 boys and a special teacher that comes in every time to teach them. Between the study room and the garage, there's a little hole through the door. And when they are teaching them, when these children are being taught, I would look through that hole, and that is how I learned how to read and write. S-O-SO, T-O-2, 1 + 1, 2. One day my boss caught me looking through that hole. He gave me a merciless beating I will never forget. He said, what use are you? I mean, there's no use for you. Do you even know what you are being taught? He picked up an iron rod. I still have the scars on my back after today. My flesh was torn. Blood was just oozing out. He was just beating me. You have no business looking through the hole. You're supposed to sleep and wake up and clean the house and do the job here. You have no business looking through the hole.